Right, so now we're at the point of expropriation for land for the generation of electricity, but it still comes down to a reliable supply of power because we all know how badly the economy is being affected. But we've also seen over the years, sadly, lots of small businesses having to actually stop their operations, close their doors, and as a result of that, people lose their jobs, and that, of course, then affects the economy. People then can't pay for power, and we keep going on the same hamster wheel. Let's see if there's anything different that perhaps is in the pipeline. Business Unity South Africa President, Professor Bonang Mohale, always generous with your time. Prof, good to have you with us on the show. Are you hearing anything new at the moment? Because we've just been hearing from the Electricity Minister, we've been hearing from Sihle Zikalala, lots of plans. Once again, I get the sense we're just not implementing anything quickly enough. What's your take on what you've been hearing?
So fortunately, Gareth, I can say that I am relieved that after 2 years as the president of Business Unity South Africa, at the AGM of the 17th, I decided not to make myself available for re-election. But why are we talking about electricity? It's because, one, it is the fourth means of production, whilst land is the primary means of production. That's why Minister Sihle Zikalala is talking about the 25 servitudes, because land is important. But also, we seem to be taking 3 steps forward, but 2 steps backwards. When Minister of Electricity, Hossein Soramokhupa, says Eskom is owed 63.2 billion South African rands by the more than 357 municipalities. If there was political will to collect this money, it would be done in 1 hour. Because National Treasury, every year when it allocates monies and budgets due to municipalities, it could simply subtract what is owed by Eskom and send it directly to Eskom. But also, why are we where we are now? Because when we grew up, you knew that if you were behind with your own municipality rates and taxes, in 1 month, they came to your door and pasted a big, ugly white paper on your door. At the end of that month, if you didn't pay, you were cut off. So why are we not cutting off municipalities, for instance, that are owing us about 18 billion? And this has been going on for a long time. But also, Gareth, let's not fool ourselves. This rolling blackout started in February of 2008. So 15 years later, we have not been able to solve this problem. Therefore, sending a message to ourselves, not anybody else, not to the world, to say we are not yet ready to govern. We are not prepared to solve our problems, no matter how intractable. Especially because since 2007 and now 2017, we have been talking about breaking Eskom into 3 legal entities. Generation, which is the cooking, the transmission, which is the wheeling across the lines, and then distribution to the 357 municipalities. The function themselves within Eskom have always been done. They are not new. What we are doing is simply packaging them differently to put them into 3 separate legal entities that will then report to Eskom Holdings. 2017.
It's been a long time, and I want to ask in a moment, Prof, about when you say we are not ready to govern. I want to pick you up on that in a second. I'd like you to circle back to that. But if I heard you correctly, did you just say you made yourself unavailable for re-election for Busa? You can't tell me that and not ask me and not expect me to not ask you about that. Why has that happened? What's changed?
Normally, you are elected for a 3-year period. I've served 2. I think it's more than enough. It's always good to do your bit, like in a relay, hand over the baton to somebody else. That's what I've just done. Nothing less, nothing more.
Okay, so let's go back to not being ready to govern, because these blackouts are listening to various experts. There was warnings of this as far back as 1998. There was a white paper, if memory serves, as well. There was talks about it in the build-up to 2007. They were ignored, and then, as you say, plunged into darkness from 2008. Why do you think it's a case now of not being ready to govern?
I think where we are now, all of us, if we don't have our head in the sand, must accept that we are now on a slippery slide to a slope of misery and wasteland, where we are going to render the majority of our people and push them more into poverty. That's what you and I are experiencing probably in the last 15 years. So this electricity conundrum really is now costing the economy. You see, CSIR and the Department of Mineral Resources and Energy, they calculate the cost of unserved electricity. Last year, they put that cost of unserved electricity at 6.4 gigawatt. That's 6,400 megawatts of electricity. At 80 rands per kilowatt, that's 560 billion that has been lost to the economy. It has wiped off 2 percentage points to the GDP of this country. And we know that in the last 10 years, the economy has not grown by 2%, but less. And yet, the population growth is a minimum of 1.5% per annum, which means we are actually going nowhere fast. Actually, we are going backwards, because you can measure our discretionary purchasing power and disposable income. It hits us in our back pocket, where we are now poorer now compared to the same period last year.
I want to ask you about what this all looks like as we go into elections, Prof. Just a last answer from you as I say goodbye. We're heading into elections next year. Still don't have an elections date, but a lot of the political parties, obviously in this case the ruling party as well, going to use blackouts and load shedding as part of their claims to vote for them. They're going to fix it. It's going to be all political parties saying this. Should we as South Africans believe any political party when they say they can fix load shedding?
But how can you believe anybody when in 15 years we have not been able to? Now we say we can do it in 1 year. But you see, politicians are very shrewd, because why are we having less severity and frequency of load shedding? Primarily because of two reasons. One, because the businesses and households are now putting solar, inverters, but also ensuring that they're coming out of the grid, especially the big intensive energy users groups. Number two is because we are burning diesel to keep the lights on. In fact, in the first 4 months of this year, we have spent more money on diesel than the whole of last year, at about 23.7 billion rands just in 4 months. So at this rate, by the time we finish the year, you can see that we would have really burned 4 times more diesel compared to the same period last year to keep these open cycle gas turbines. Lastly, I think each time the lights come off, we kill small and medium enterprises. Now this is BRICS week. In all our BRICS counterparts, new jobs created by small and medium enterprises north of 60 percentage points, except in South Africa, where that number is south of 15 percentage points. In fact, we have more people unemployed now than those that are gainfully employed. 11.9 million people are not employed. But it's youth unemployment that we should worry about, because at one instance, it was threatening to go to 75%. If we don't pay attention to this, the 2 weeks in July of 2021 of a failed insurrection and rampant looting where the poor becomes thieves out of necessity is going to happen again and again and again. Gareth?
Bonang, fantastic to talk to you this morning. That's why I wanted to get your thoughts on this. I think you're always able to back it all up with numbers, but also make sense of what it means for those on the ground. And I'm going to have another interview with you about you leaving BUSA. I'm not going to leave that there, but I appreciate for the moment Professor Bonang Mohale, what seems to be the outgoing president of Business Unity South Africa, dropping that bombshell on me halfway through the interview. Don't worry. I won't let the good prof go. I'll make sure I get him back on another day. You can explain to me why, what's the plan, what's the legacy he's leaving behind, and what's the view of BUSA going forward under new leadership. Don't worry, I won't let the prof go. I'll make sure I have that discussion with him.